All right. Oh, that's a little bit older video. It does indeed show some of those key tenets of progressivism and what it's all about. So once again, I hope you found this beneficial, helpful to get a sense of how that progressivism is distinct from perennialism. So let's go ahead and we're going to move on here to our next key tenet of progressivism, and that is the father of progressivism, Dewey, who really believed in progressivism and the fact that we need to look at all aspects of study like arithmetic, history, geography, but base those aspects of study on students' everyday life and experiences. And the way Dewey shared this idea or this belief is through the pedagogic creed. And I'm going to post a copy of this in your week 2 course module. I would definitely encourage you to look through the pedagogic creed, get a sense of what it's all about, because it does outline some of those key tenets of progressivism based on Dewey. In summary, some of the key things the pedagogic creed is going to talk about through the various articles are the fact that education is really about the socialization of children and how do we actively represent society in a child's life and then ease them into that society and becoming part of that democratic world. Do we also believe that the teacher's role was to assist students in properly responding to outside influences, but the key here is not to impose their own ideas. The teacher is not supposed to convince the child of anything, but really to help them reason and respond to things and decide for themselves what it is that they believe. In addition, the pedagogic creed really outlines the idea that the strict study of science leaves out the most important factor in education, which is human activity and socializing. In progressivism, that human activity and socializing is the most important aspect. Literature is the expression interpretation of the social experience. So all literature, unlike perennialism, which has great books and works that say these are the essential truths, in progressivism, literature is really an expression and interpretation of the social experience. It's not about a universal truth. Um, Given that note, progressivists do we believe that science should be studied as a way to more effectively regulate past experience, but not as a new subject matter altogether. And then the process and goal of education are one and the same. How we go about that process of education, understanding it, is as important as the ultimate goal. So let's take a modern day look at progressivism. I think you'll find this video very entertaining but informative as well as we look at why progressivism is so important in today's day and age.
Albert Einstein once said, "Everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today on trial we have modern day schooling. Glad you could come. Not only does he make fish climb trees, but also makes them climb down and do a 10-mile run. Tell me, school, are you proud of the things you've done? Turning millions of people into robots, do you find that fun? Do you realize how many kids relate to that fish swimming upstream in class, never finding their gifts, thinking they are stupid, believing they are useless? Well, the time has come, no more excuses. I call school to the stand and accuse him of killing creativity, individuality, and being intellectually abusive. He's an ancient institution that has outlived his usage. So, Your Honor, this concludes my opening statement, and if I may present the evidence of my case, I will prove it.
Proceed.
Exhibit A. Here's a modern day phone. Recognize it? Here's a phone from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Stay with me. Here's a car from today, and here's a car from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Well, get this. Here's a classroom of today, and here's a class we used 150 years ago. Now, ain't that a shame? In literally more than a century, nothing has changed. Yet you claim to prepare students for the future? But with evidence like that, I must ask, do you prepare students for the future or the past? I did a background check on you and let the record show that you were made to train people to work in factories, which explains why you put students in straight rows, nice and neat. Tell them sit still, raise your hand if you want to speak, give them a short break to eat, and for 8 hours a day, tell them what to think. Oh, and make them compete to get an A. A letter which determines product quality, hence grade A of meat. I get it. Back then, times were different. We all have a past. I myself am no Gandhi. But today, we don't need to make robot zombies. The world has progressed. And now we need people who think creatively, innovatively, critically, independently, with the ability to connect. See, every scientist will tell you that no two brains are the same. And every parent with 2 or more children will confirm that claim. So please explain why you treat students like cookie cutter frames or snapback hats, giving them this one-size-fits-all crap.
What's your language?
Sorry, Your Honor. But if a doctor prescribed the exact same medicine to all of his patients, the results would be tragic. So many people would get sick, yet when it comes to school, this is exactly what happens. This educational malpractice, where one teacher stands in front of 20 kids, each one having different strengths, different needs, different gifts, different dreams, and you teach the same thing the same way? That's horrific. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant should not be acquitted. This may be one of the worst criminal offenses ever to be committed. And let's mention the way you treat your employees.
Objection. Overruled. I want to hear this.
It's a shame. I mean, teachers have the most important job on the planet, yet they're underpaid? No wonder so many students are short-changed. Let's be honest. Teachers should earn just as much as doctors, because a doctor can do heart surgery and save the life of a kid. But a great teacher can reach the heart of that kid and allow him to truly live. See, teachers are heroes that often get blamed, but they're not the problem. They work in a system without many options or rights. Curriculums are created by policymakers, most of which have never taught a day in their life. Just obsessed with standardized tests. They think bubbling in a multiple choice question will determine success. That's outlandish. In fact, these tests are too cruel to be used and should be abandoned, but don't take my word for it. Take Frederick J. Kelly, the man who invented standardized testing, who said, and I quote, "These tests are too cruel to be used and should be abandoned." Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if we continue down this road, the results will be lethal. I don't have much faith in school, but I do have faith in people. And if we can customize healthcare, cars, and Facebook pages, then it is our duty to do the same for education, to upgrade and change and do away with school spirit, because that's useless. Unless we're working to bring the spirit out of each and every student, that should be our task. No more Common Core. Instead, let's reach the core of every heart in every class. Sure, math is important, but no more than art or dance. Let's give every gift an equal chance. I know this sounds like a dream, but countries like Finland are doing impressive things. They have shorter school days, teachers make a decent wage, homework is non-existent, and they focus on collaboration instead of competition. But here's the kicker, boys and girls. Their educational system outperforms every other country in the world. Other places like Singapore are succeeding rapidly. Schools like Montessori, programs like Khan Academy, there is no single solution. But let's get moving. Because while students may be 20% of our population, they are 100% of our future. So let's attend to their dreams, and there's no telling what we can achieve. This is a world in which I believe, a world where fish are no longer forced to climb trees. I'll rest my case. Hey guys, my name is Prince EA, and I want to say thank you so much for watching my video. But now, I want to know what you think. How can we together create a more efficient, effective, and just better future of learning? I want you to visit nestday.com/preorder the future and share your thoughts and ideas on the topic. Peace.
I hope you found that video informative. It's kind of shocking to think about education, where we've come, but also where we've stayed. So progressivisms are really asking us to think about that critically and challenges us to move forward and move beyond this standardized testing approach to the rows of desks and columns. We see that more and more in today's classrooms with alternative seating and other structures, but we still have a long way to go. So as we think about the video, go ahead and ask yourself, how did it reflect key features of progressivism? Were there some specific insights you gained while you watched the video? And then as a future teacher, are there points you can take from the video and implement into your future professional practice? And if so, what are they? All right, and we're going to end today's video session with one more coffee talk on progressivism to get a practical insight into this in the classroom. And let's watch our coffee talk.
I'd like to welcome you to our coffee talk today. We are with Mr. James Alberto.
Hello.
Hello. He is with the Curriculum Instruction Office here in the College of Education. He's a graduate teaching assistant who does some very exciting things. You'd like to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Oh gosh, that might be too much credit. But right now, in addition to pursuing my degree, I teach for curriculum instruction, specifically science methods for K through 6. So I get to teach Block B students, those are undergraduate students that are in their second semester of the professional program, to be elementary school teachers. And I get the semester to teach them how to teach science, kindergarten through 6th grade.
Excellent. Well, today I'm very excited to talk to you a little bit about progressivism.
Awesome.
And what we are going to do and how we can apply it in classrooms and what it really means to teachers in the field.
Okay.
So you can tell us a little bit more about your interpretation of that.
Okay, so my interpretation of progressivism.
Yeah.
In thinking about even how to present that thought, it's big.
Yes.
Right? You can probably speak volumes on that. Specifically, my experience with progressivism in my own classroom started, I think, way before I ever even knew that it was progressivism, or I never knew what to call it, but we did all this learning that was centered around projects. It was really project based, and it was communal learning also. So it was very collaborative in nature, and it was big. The scope of these projects sometimes were a week and a half long. And so as I learned more about just theories of education, it was only then that I figured out that was progressivism that I was doing in action.
Yeah.
So that's really where it started.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, teachers, we don't necessarily have labels for what it is that we're doing in classrooms. We find out later as we learn more about the theories of education, like, wow, that is exactly what I was doing. And we can put a name to it. It's just that really good practice putting it in place and then seeing, oh my gosh, when I do this with my students and actually actively engage them in the learning, doing those hands-on projects, getting them involved, that's what I'm doing. I've had other students that do the same things, like, wow, I really love that. That's what I want to do in my future classroom.
Yeah, for sure, with the project-based stuff.
Yeah.
So it was funny, the access that our students have just to information now is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's off the charts high. I tell my students, I used to tell my 7th grade students, if one of them asked me a question that I knew that they could figure that answer out, probably on their cell phone, be that easy, I would challenge them to, why would you ask me that? You have access to literally the world's knowledge in your pocket. That's how much access to information you have now. So for me, in just figuring that out for myself, that access is off the charts. So they have tons of access to just information. I don't need to focus as much on that as a teacher. So it's not. So for me, it became very much not about rote memorization or names and dates. I taught science in a classroom. So specifically, it wouldn't be about terminology and vocabulary like it might have been 10, 15, 20 years ago. For me, learning in my classroom with my students really became more about how can they use this knowledge in their lives, and how can I challenge them to put it to practice, the information, instead of just rote memorization, and that I think really fit into the progressivism.
Yeah, and I think that makes it so much more meaningful for our students too, if they can actually take it and apply it in their real lives and see the purpose of it, what they're doing with the learning, rather than just learning a bunch of facts and figures and dates and having to regurgitate a standardized test, so they can see the purpose behind the learning. I think that's what's so powerful for students today.
Absolutely. So with my undergraduate students now, we start the semester off by talking about what kind of science teacher do you think you'll be? And really, the reason why we do that is because science is just one of those subjects that people either think they're good at or they think they're not good at. And it's really funny to me, or it's remarkable that we see that good or not good really follows suit with their science experience in classrooms for themselves as students. So for students that had science teachers or teachers that taught them science, that it was kind of about names and dates and a lot of book work and a lot of worksheets. They really didn't like science, and they don't remember a lot of that stuff. It was Dr. Allen who said